solve square root of x plus 16 is equal to negative 4 minus x. Now the first difficulty is these numbers are under a radical, these are not, so I need to get rid of the radical. You can get rid of a radical if you raise that expression to a power that matches the index of your radical. Now what's the index? Well, that's the number under here that tells you what kind of a root you're taking. Since there's no number here, it's understood to be a 2 for square root. So to get rid of it, I'm going to square that. Now whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So I'm going to do this to keep it balanced. Now a square root and a square power cancel each other out and just leave you the radicand. Right over here, when you square that binomial, now remember, you can't just square each term, you have to expand that out and use the FOIL method. So to square this, I'm going to do negative 4 minus x times negative 4 minus x, and then I'm going to use the FOIL method. So negative 4 times negative 4 is 16. My outside gives me positive 4x. My inside gives me positive 4x. And my last two gives me positive x squared. I can combine those two middle terms and get this now. Alright, we want to use the zero product property. That'd be best. So I need to either get a 0 here or a 0 here. Normally I move my x squared term over to my left just because that's standard form, but looking ahead a little bit, if I move x squared over here, it's going to be negative, and then I'm going to have to factor that out, kind of manipulate a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move all this stuff over there. I could also just reflect it either way. But I'm going to subtract x and 16 from this side to get a 0. Now when I subtract x and 16 on this side, what I wind up with is I'm going to move my x squared to the front. These two make 0. Those subtract out to 7x. Now I do have my 0, and I can factor and then use the zero product property. So what's the greatest common factor between x squared and 7x? Well, that's going to be x. So now I have x plus 7. And for zero product property, you're going to do x is equal to 0. This x is equal to 0, and x plus 7 equals 0. So when I solve, I get these two answers. So I have possible answers of 7 and negative 0. Now because this is a radical equation, you do need to go fill these back in, and let's see if they make a true statement.